Welcome to Inside Startup Investing, the only podcast where you can invest in every guest. On this episode, I will be speaking with Leigh Colby, founder and CEO of TriAgenics, one of the latest King's Crowd Capital portfolio companies. TriAgenics is solving an all too familiar problem that most of us will end up dealing with in our lives, and that is wisdom teeth. As a guy with 5 wisdom teeth myself, this company is doing something that will save my kids and future generations from the pain of wisdom teeth. A few things that really stood out to me in this episode are that Leigh is a dentist by training, but over the past several years, he has invested an incredible amount of his own money and time to developing a really revolutionary technology that can completely change the way future generations think about wisdom teeth. Second, the technology that Leigh is creating can actually prevent wisdom teeth from ever growing in children, removing all the complications involved with them as we grow older. And lastly, with the efficacy of TriAgenics technology already largely proven, Leigh is doing something few founders are willing to do. He is raising capital to hire an outside go-to-market CEO who knows how to navigate the dental sales market and provide them with the budgets they need to be successful. Few founders are willing to give up the reins of their baby, but Leigh has done this before and knows this is the path to creating value for his investors. His humility and playbook for growing med device companies excited me as an investor at King's Crowd Capital. So with that, let's get on to the show and welcome Leigh. For those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about your background, your career, and how you came to found TriAgenics.
Well, I'm a dentist, and I practice part-time while being involved with several successful high-tech startup companies. And they're still in business today, so they've got a great track record. Lots of luck involved with that. And while practicing, I came across the idea of preventing wisdom teeth from ever forming. And the thesis was that we treat the tiny tooth bud that forms the wisdom tooth, we treat it like a tumor. So I spent a number of years researching on the most effective way, both cost-wise and surgically, to treat the tumor and get rid of it. The little tooth buds are about the size of a large blueberry, small grape, but they grow up to be gangsters. If you've had your wisdom teeth removed, you know what's involved with that. Chris, have you had your wisdom teeth out?
I actually have 5 wisdom teeth, and I'm told every time I go to the dentist, I need to get them out, and I haven't done it for the last decade. So one of these days I will.
It only gets worse as you get older. Sorry. I don't want to prove you statistically wrong, but it really is the truth. The rule of thumb is the earlier you get your wisdom teeth out, the fewer problems you have with recovery. And we take that upstream by actually treating the wisdom tooth bud before the wisdom teeth have a chance to form. A surprisingly simple procedure, and that's why we recommend this as the next standard of care in the dental industry. We have a lot of dentists very interested in this. We're convinced this is going to be the standard of care by 2030.
It's a fascinating concept. Talk to me a little bit about the technology, to the extent you can, how it works, and what the procedure looks like for an individual.
Well, the procedure itself is so simple that I will train you in the next 30 seconds. How's that?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, so if this is a kid's mandible, and this is actually the mandible of one of the kids in a pilot study, you run your finger along the central groove of the lower teeth, and your fingertips actually pushing against the dome of the tooth bud. And what we do is we fabricate this surgical guide. And in our pilot studies, we gave it to the kids, and they actually seat this. So the dentist doesn't even have to seat the surgical guide. And then we send a disposable microwave ablation probe, and the tip gently warms the tooth bud from the center outwards. So what you do is you press this until it stops. And that has put the center of ablation into the center of the tooth bud. It's very low power. And the dentist steps on the pedal, removes this, and throws it away. This is a single patient use probe. Remove this, you're done. It's a puncture, there's no bone removal, nothing like that. And what's amazing is that the total power that's going in to gently warm the tooth bud is actually lower power than my cell phone. It's a microwave ablation technology. And your cell phones run on microwave. And it's less power than your cell phone. It's really extraordinary. Just very gentle process. When this is removed, it's a puncture. There's no bone removal, no sutures, stitches, if you will. Kids can immediately go out and play. And the average adult requires 3 days to recover. We have none of that.
Now talking about, I know you mentioned the bud is kind of like blueberry sized, but if you were to ablate something like that, like there's no sinking of the gums or anything like that that occurs?
No. All our animal studies, and we had 100% success, the bone grows in immediately. When you extract a tooth and pull it out, you've got this large opening in the bone. So food can get packed in. Your saliva has a lot of bacteria in it. And the bone is exposed to that. So what the most common complication is a dry socket, very painful, or an infection. And since this is it's a puncture, it goes into the center, poor representation, but it goes into the center of the tooth bud. And when you remove it, there's only a puncture. There's virtually no possibility of an infection. Zero possibility of dry socket. It can't happen. So.
And can you do all four, like when you go in for the procedure, would a child get all four done at the same time?
If they're all ready to be treated, normally the upper arch is ready at a slightly different time than the lower arch. Sometimes they're ready at the same time. But it may be you do the lower arch first, and then 6 months later do the upper arch. But that's where you screen using x-rays for the kids, very low dose x-rays.
I know with biotech, right, you have your various phases of development and clinical trials that you have to go through. Sounds like you've done animal studies. What else needs to be done for this medical device in order to be able to go to market with it?
We are, in July, we are filing for 510K approval through the FDA. And what that implies is that we are substantially equivalent to another device on the market. The general surgical branch of the FDA has approved microwave ablation systems since the mid-'80s. So they've been around for a long time. Our system is a scaled down version. And this is actually one of our microablation generators. And so the dentist buys one of these and hooks up that fits handily into the dentist's operatory. And the dentist hooks this up to the microwave generator. We expect the general surgical branch of the FDA to review this and approve this under a 510K approval. With 510K approval cycles, there is no human clinical data required at the time of submission. So any human clinical trials we do will be done to support our marketing efforts and claims of efficacy and so on.
So that 510K approval, how long will that take, and when do you think you could begin to commercialize?
Well, we're hoping that when we file in July, that we will have 510K clearance by the end of this calendar year. So that opens the door for us to begin selling in 2025.
How does sales work within kind of the dental space? How, is it salesmen literally going office by office and selling each dentist? Is there
No,
providers you have to go through? How does that work?
we will go direct to the dentist. We think we already have our first year of business lined up just
Hmm,
because of the discussion in the community, technical publications on the procedure and so on. There's a lot of interest on the part of dentists. We have several large dental service organizations, chains of dental offices, if you will, that are very interested in having us come in and train their dentists. So we really think that we don't need to build up a huge sales force. We can go direct to the dentist. Our business model is a business to consumer model where we go to the dentist and then the dentist recommends treatment. Really, it's like the clear braces market. We're very
sure.
analogous to Align Technology in that regard. It's a good business model. That's the one we follow. Yeah,
And just to be clear, is the dentist paying you for the initial device and then per use, which gets charged to the client?
that's correct. The microwave ablation generator is sold separately to the dentist at a projected cost of $15,000. And then the surgical kit, this part here, we sell to the
Yep.
dentist for $350 per tooth bud, and it includes the disposable microwave ablation handpiece. So this is the custom part,
Hmm.
and we expect to be able to sell for $350 per treatment site. So the lower arch would be $700.
Now, is this the type of thing that would get approval and coverage by like dental insurance?
We are planning that this will be covered by dental insurance. That's a process that takes a little bit of time, but yes, it will eventually be covered.
Obviously, this is kind of a unique market and one people have probably never really thought about. So, when you think about market size, applicable opportunity that's here, everyone's got, four wisdom teeth. What are we talking about? What could annual revenues look like? How big is the market opportunity?
In theory, the market opportunity, US alone, is well over 3 billion. Worldwide,
Hmm.
probably 6 to 7 billion. And our market projections assume that we don't reach half the market. In other words, half the kids will not be available to have this either through cost or lack of care. If we were to hit 100% of the theoretical treatment, we could argue this is a $7 to $10 billion market. I mean, it's just staggering. In the U.S., there's well over $3 billion spent on extraction fees just in the U.S. alone. So it's the wisdom teeth market. Treatment is huge. And what we are going to do is eliminate the complications because there's 2 to 3 billion spent on treating the problems after the wisdom teeth are removed. And it's the
Hmm.
complications that really cost more than the actual removal of the wisdom teeth. A lot of people lose their second molars. So you've got the wisdom teeth, then you've got your second molars, and they end up losing the second molars because the third molars become infected. Huge problem.
Now, you mentioned that microwave ablation technology has been something that's been, approved by the FDA for many, many years. I imagine for other applications, right? Like I know like adenoids and tonsils and things like that.
Yep,
Um,
correct.
but the fact is these types of technologies have been approved. You know, do you have any concern about other people kind of coming out with this type of product for wisdom teeth as well? Or are you putting patents around this?
We've got 27 US and international patents. We've got patents on this part, the 3TBA guide itself. We have patents on the procedure. That's the act of actually putting the center of ablation into the tooth bud and then inducing what we call third molar agenesis. We have separate patents on the technology that does the ablation. And this particular patent is critical because of the way the technology works and the precision. We have coverage on how this tip works through 2040. Yeah, we have excellent IP coverage for our procedure.
What is the kind of age range at which this has to occur before it's too late?
Well, the peak of the curve is age 9. From 6 to 12, kids will have treatable tooth buds. Once you get over the age of 10 or 11, you may start to see a small amount of tooth structure forming. By age 13, the tooth structure will be enough that you can't get the probe in place. So we would recommend screening starting at about age 6 or 7. And the earlier you catch the tooth bud, the shorter the ablation. If you catch it when the tooth bud's only 6 or 7 millimeters in diameter, it's a 20 to 30 second ablation. It really is that fast. And we saw that in all our animal testing.
In order to screen for it, is that simply just part of a normal x-ray that you would get at the dentist's office?
Yes. When I was practicing, I would start screening kids for their wisdom teeth at about age 14. And pediatric dentists will start screening the kids at about age 6 to 8. And in our pilot study, the 9-year-old kids all had treatable tooth buds. Now, we didn't actually perform the procedure. We fabricated the guide and made sure we had surgical access in our pilot studies. And they were easily accessible, surgically accessible. It's a very straightforward procedure. In humans, it's actually easier to perform the procedure than in pigs. I'm the world's leading expert on performing third molar tooth bud ablation on pigs. It's a dubious honor, I can assure you. So, but
I can't imagine. It's incredible.
It's so precise that it really does work every time.
This sounds kind of like a miracle solution. But what do you see as kind of the key things that can, prevent this from being more widely adopted once you get into market? What would prevent people from wanting to utilize this?
Well, the first hurdle that the market has to deal with is that they have to have access to cone beam CT imaging. Now, any dentist that places implants has access to that. Many pediatric dentists have access, direct access in their office to cone beam CT imaging, but not all. So for a busy pediatric dentist, that will require investing $30,000 to $40,000 to have that equipment in office. But the good news is the dentist can send the patient out to get that. It's a 2-minute scan, 3-dimensional x-ray. And so that's a hurdle that has to be jumped. But with the pediatric dentist, there will be a little bit more training involved just because it's like placing an implant. Any dentist that has placed an implant, a dental implant to replace a missing tooth, is already trained. This is just what you do when you place an implant. And this will be a little bit unfamiliar to a pediatric dentist, but 1 hour of training, there's no reason why a pediatric dentist cannot go in and immediately do this. The oral surgeons all have this technology in-house for surgical guides. I mean, the oral surgeons are the experts in placing dental implants. And we expect that a high percentage initially will be referred out to oral surgeons.
What has the feedback been so far from dentists that you've kind of, started letting know about this product or working with?
Well, the most common word we see used is revolutionary. I mean, it really, speaking as an experienced dentist, managing wisdom teeth is a pain in the ass. It really is. Do you send the kid out early to have wisdom teeth removed when they're teenagers, or do you run the risk of having them retain the third molars and then have them removed later in life with the likelihood of complications? It's a real murky area, and most dentists, myself included, routinely screen kids starting at age 14, and we refer it out early. The patients come back a little bit beat up, swollen, bruised, but they recover, but it's a painful recovery. But there's a risk of complications. And what TriAgenics is all about is eliminating the complications. If you go to our website, you'll see what our clinical mission is, and it's greater than 99% success at inducing complete wisdom tooth agenesis, that is failure to form, with zero complications. And all the engineering work that we do is focused on the zero complications. It's a puncture, you're in and out fast. We don't know what the complications even might be. It's such a minor procedure compared to cutting bone away, creating a big hole as you lift the wisdom tooth out. Sometimes you have to section the wisdom tooth, and you lift it out one piece at a time. And when you do, there's a chance you might disrupt the nerves, and the patient ends up with permanent numbness on their face. We have none of those risks involved with this procedure. It's all about zero complications.
Your current funding round on Start Engine, is it WeFunder?
Nope, Start Engine.
Start Engine, yeah, that's okay. So your current funding round on Start Engine, what are the use of funds and where is it going to take you?
Well, we have a $4 million offering. We're at the $3.5 million mark. And our primary use of proceeds is to get FDA clearance and begin scaling TriAgenics for manufacturing and rollout in 2025. One of the key things we intend to do is hire our go-to-market CEO. You don't hear a lot of founders and CEOs say, I'm planning to hire my replacement, but that's what I did when I was at TriAgenics. When I was at BSI Cermatics, we recruited in our go-to-market CEO. It works every time. It's really a good strategy, and we intend to have our go-to-market CEO on board either by the end of this year or early 2025. So that's the single most important decision we will make. If you were to ask me, I'm an investor in TriAgenics. I invested $100,000 in the Start Engine offering. And if you were to ask me, what's the single biggest move we can make to get from $3 a share to $100 a share, it's the decision on who we hire for our go-to-market CEO. It's critical.
Yeah. When you think about this business, is this the type of business that, I know you have to leave all your options open, but is more of an acquisition type by a bigger medical device or dental device type company, or is this an IPO type company?
I think this is going to be an IPO type company. If you look at the history of Align Technology, when they brought Invisalign clear braces to the marketplace, they had an excellent IP position like we do now, and they went to market. They conducted their IPO on less than $4 million in sales, and we would hope to be public within 5 years.
Well, Leigh, thank you so much for your company that you're building. I think you're going to help a lot of people. Thanks for your insights. And for those who are interested, you go check them out on Start Engine. If you like what you heard on the show today, you can check out TriAgenics' offering page on Start Engine that currently runs until July 14th, but may be extended. And please like, subscribe, and share our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts so more listeners like you can find us. Thanks for listening.